Hello everyone. So I wanted to do a video with my Mark Lanegan projection running and having my commentary over the top, because there's a lot of aspects of the projection which I felt I wanted to not over explain but just point out, because I added them in for a reason, or there's little moments, little nuances in the projection that I really enjoyed, and I thought that it might be a nice idea to share that all with you as well. There's parts in the projection when I made the video that I didn't realise would be as poignant as they were when they were laid on top of the canvas that I made. So there was a few nice surprises once I laid the projection video on top of the canvas, where the projection laid on the canvas and the new images that it kind of created, and the sort of the synchronicities as well. So I just thought it might be a nice idea to do a running commentary of the projection video, so I can share that with you all. So let's get started. So I really enjoyed the film burn to begin with, and it totally going black. So the first thing to point out is that I really tried to get Mark's, when he's holding onto the microphone, and that head nod to the side, I wanted to get that bang on the beat. The song Bleeding Muddy Water has got such a really simple, like, driving beat all the way through it. And when I was watching that performance with Mark and he tilts his head to the side, I was like, oh man, that needs to be at the beginning, and it needs to be in time. So I think I got that just about right. And the next bit coming up is flowers blooming, which is a sort of common reoccurrence throughout the projection, because I felt like, I did mention this on the live that I did after the projection, but I felt like the flowers blooming and then dying felt like how the song goes. It's like it blooms and then it condenses again and blooms and sort of and comes back down. So let's continue.
Lord, now the rain done come. Lord, now the rain done come. Muddy water.
Again, trying to get Mark sort of singing. It looked like he was singing in time. So I added some religious sort of symbology and the cross and the candles. I felt like there's a lot of religious, not context, but a lot of religious sort of nods to religious things in some of his music. Maybe to do with like the Irish descent, and the the Catholicism side of things. I don't think necessarily he's Catholic or anything, but I just felt like it was kind of an apt thing to put in there, but it being distorted at the same time. Like it's a kind of, it's not so much a positive thing, but a kind of ambiguous. So let's carry on. I wanted to add in these missing reel things because I felt like Mark was taken too young, and the missing reel slides are to represent the performances and the things that Mark should still be here to do. So that's why I added those in.
Celestial flood.
His hands, of course, iconic.
In my unknown, I feel ya, in my unknown.
So again with the flowers blooming, I wanted to use, I felt like the swells of the song, and I wanted to like use symbology of the swelling of the song, and it kind of like rising and falling. So I used like a supernova explosion, like in space, like a kind of like a celestial explosion, as well as the flowers blooming and dying and blooming and dying. I felt like the song does that, so I wanted to reflect that in the visuals. Okay, so the black and white footage of the dog barking at the cage is from a Charlie Chaplin film called The Circus, from 1928. I just like the dog's like ferocious yapping energy. He's barking at the lion cage, and I just thought that was quite a cool and quite apt analogy for how Mark was, like not being afraid, but then also being quite vulnerable also at the same time, just being like a little dog, but just projecting a real ferocious energy, and it's just a cool visual, the small dog yapping at the lion cage, and again, like the film burn, I really enjoy how that just totally splits the canvas up completely, totally, you know, puts it in the dark, and then just these parts picked out, and it just becomes a completely new piece of artwork. And there's actually pieces of, you know, like focused pieces, isolated pieces of the canvas. It just makes it look fun. I just think it makes it look amazing, so I enjoyed the film burn aspect of the projection. Spoon, of course. Alright, that piece of footage is from Screaming Trees doing All I Know, and there's that specific part with Mark where he laughs. I think Van Connor's doing something funny on the guitar, and it's when they're doing the do-do-do-do-do-do, it's after that bit, and he laughs, and just to see his face light up like that, from the moment I saw that video, I knew when I was going to do my Mark Lanegan canvas in projection that would be included, because I just think it's just such a beautiful moment, and just shows Mark, the other side of Mark, that like playful side, and his smile is just to die for. So we're coming up to the next part of the song now, where it sort of breaks out, and I'm using like a deluge, like a big landslide, because that's how I feel like that this next part of the song comes in. It just sort of swells in. So yeah, let's continue. Epic footage. He looks so cool in that. Love that bit. Okay, so that's the lightning bolts through, and again that totally just like blacks out most of the canvas, but just has these streaks of lightning running through. And because I used the shocking pink in the canvas, the lightning bolts just like coursing through the picture, picking out those shocking bits of pink and the gold. I just fell in love with that, how the lightning laid over the top of the canvas. I just thought that was the coolest thing. I love that interview set as well. So there's that interview with him backstage at a festival with Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. It's when he got clean and he was touring with them, and he just looks so good. He looks really healthy and like so handsome. And I just loved his hands and the way he lights the cigarette, and so I had to get that interview and chop it up and use that intermittently throughout the projection. So this next bit coming up here, I'm using vultures. I just thought that is a gnarly, they're like a gnarly animal, aren't they? And they just feast on, you know, dead corpses and things. And I just thought, I enjoy that imagery and the gnarliness of it. So I wanted to include vultures. Again, a missing reel, and again this deluge coming in and sneaking into the canvas. Night Porter obviously is what Mark used to be nicknamed, for obvious reasons to do with drugs and being available in the dead of night. But I used that in the canvas, and I thought it might be quite a cool thing to replicate that in the video too, and lay that across the canvas and sort of make it a little bit distorted. And I really enjoyed the way that turned out. And obviously I wanted to use a few different pieces of footage of him by the mic. So it's just such an iconic way that he used to stand. So sorry to keep pausing it so much, but this is what I mean. There's just so much in this that I wanted to talk about. This like the striking an iron whilst it was hot as well. These are all of the things that just came to mind when I'm thinking about his voice, like, and I'm thinking about his energy and what he brought into the music that he created. And I just felt all of that imagery come up. I just wrote a big long list of all the things that I felt and what it conjured up to me, and tried to include them all. So striking an iron whilst it's like red hot, I just thought that was another cool sort of analogy for Mark in some way.
Do I bleed you?
That's actually from Romeo and Juliet, that bit. All right, okay, so here, so Mark looks down and the rose looks down. So I had to include Mad Season footage because anybody that is a fan of Mark Lanegan will know what, big good friends he was with Lane Staley, and what an incredible band Mad Season were, and that's just one of the most iconic gigs ever, in my opinion. So the footage of him and Lane standing side by side on the stage was something that I also knew to begin with that I wanted to include. And I split this piece of footage in two because I really enjoyed cutting it off where Mark looks down from the mic, and then I replicated it with the rose also bending down and sort of dying. Not to symbolise him dying as such, but just to replicate his head movement. And I don't think I meant to do that. I think it just, the synchronicity just went that way, and this is what I mean. There was so much of that throughout, which is why I felt compelled to talk about it.
You are the bullet, yeah. You are the gun. You're the bullet.
Again,
Bullet in the gun.
so there we've got the shooting gun, and then we've also got the shooting up of the heroin. I had like the spoon cooking hot, with the flame underneath, and you are the bullet and you are the gun, and like, they're both deadly. And I just felt that those two side by side, the gun and the spoon, they're both loaded and they both shoot, and they're both deadly. And the obviously heroin had such an impact on Mark's life, so I didn't know if it was an insensitive thing to use, but then I thought that Mark might find that, his sort of sense of humour, I thought it wouldn't be a problem to sort of include that, because it was such a big part of his life. So I used that. I love this interview as well with him, and his hat's pulled right down. He's talking to that, I think she's like German or something, and he asks her how she is. I just love that interview so much. So anyway, let's continue.
You're heaven's son.
So this part here I absolutely adored, because again, this was another synchronicity that when I laid the video on top of the canvas, you'll see in a second when I unpause that that the rose is like his brain. It sits perfectly on top of his head and over his face, and the drips from the spray paint from behind the rose come down his face slightly, and I just loved that imagery so much. Like his brain and his consciousness being this like beautifully blooming rose, yet there's like a sadness there. So I just really love the way that this played out, and hopefully be able to see it now, how it sort of lines up. Okay, so that's footage from the Lone Ranger. It's like the title sequence, but I just really enjoyed the rapid pace of that bit, and feeling like Mark, you know, although he was surrounded by so many people, was kind of a lone ranger, a bit of a, you know, he was such an important part of the scene. He sort of stands alone in many ways, but in many ways he doesn't. But I just like the Lone Ranger, the sentiment of that, because I think, you know, he was very used to kind of being on his own as well. But yeah, I wanted to include that, and like I said, I just enjoyed the sort of rapid pace of that piece of footage. And again, we're going to go back to Mad Season again here. I think he drops his cigarette on the floor or something, or he's sparking his fag up. Just looks cool as hell. After the cooking the heroin up in the spoon, that the celestial imagery came after, because a lot of sort of musicians or people, you know, who've accounts I've read of taken heroin in that way, have experienced it. Elliott Smith used to call it the ultimate oblivion, and you know, such a medication for people with a lot of pain, and I feel like it would kind of be like this celestial, like kind of cosmic explosion of kind of relief and cessation of feeling. So, and in many ways not a bad thing for some people, you know, if you've got that amount of pain to carry, then of course you would medicate that way. So, and I feel like in some ways Mark enjoyed it, and so I didn't want to make it like dirty heroin being cooked upon a spoon. I wanted to follow it with this like this massive explosion, and I'm not condoning it, but I'm looking at it artistically. And that's Muddy Waters. It's Bleeding Muddy Waters, so that was self-explanatory. These movements, oh, I love that bit. And again, look how, I just love this, how the top part of the canvas you cannot see at all, and you've got these blooming roses, so the canvas now looks like it's just totally cut out. And it's just all with these pink blooming roses, and you can just see Mark's eye, and I just love it. I just love the way that looks. It almost just the canvas just becomes a bouquet of blooming roses, and it just gets me off. And there, man, so down his face, just like, look at the god. I'm gonna have to take a picture of that immediately. But down his face, just prior to this shot, the hot, like the really shocking pink spray paint just runs down his face just there, and this is what I mean. It was just such a beautiful moment when I was watching it through for the first time laid on top of the canvas. And maybe it took a few goes round for me to notice these things, but I was just absolutely blown away by how cool everything worked out, and how, you know, how amazing it looked. But I'm just gonna have to take a picture of this because, oh my god. Right, maybe one more. Oh, I can't cope. It's so cool. Okay, so onwards.
You are the master. I've been the slave.
I love him laughing.
Muddy water, come rising up.
I love it when he's holding onto the mic.
You know I feel.
Okay, yeah, so this says there is no time like the present, I will take you there. All right, so this quote, there is no time like the present, I will take you there, is from a silent film from 1922 with Rudolph Valentino in. And I just really like the sentiment of bringing Mark back to life through this projection, in this like multimedia sense, where you've got him singing, you've got the moving pictures, and you've got the static artwork, and somewhere in the middle he's alive. And I just thought that quote really nicely encapsulated it, and it just looks really cool. It's from a silent film. Again, I'm really liking the, when I'm projecting to use kind of like a you know, real film, and how that looks on the canvas. So that's where that's from. Bringing you into the present. Look at him again, a missing reel. I love how he looks up there. The power he sings with here. So this bit here is just absolutely annihilates me. Again, look at the gold leaf and the spray paint, and it's running down his face, and the texture of it, and it like, so in the canvas, it came together really quickly and really organically, but there's some parts of the canvas which I'd like to just make a note of here. So the gold in the canvas is meant to be representative of, like, you know, the Japanese art of kintsugi, which is you know, the cracks. That's where the cracks in broken potteries, they'll seal them with gold. So it's basically making out like the cracks in life, or the breaks in life, can be beautiful, and that's where the gold lies. And I feel like there was a lot of broken parts in Mark's life, and a lot of what you would consider sort of catastrophes and bad things that happened. But, you know, when you listen to his book or read his book, you start to realize that, you know, that's where the gold was also, to kind of inspire him to make the music that we all love, and just so he is who he is today, as we know him as Mark Lanegan. And the spray paint, the pink spray paint, I just, obviously there's a lot of pink on the cover of the Blues Funeral album with the florals and stuff, and in fact when it wasn't meant to be pink, it was meant to be all black and white, Mark's face, the collage. But I did a test print of his face on pink card, and I just ripped the section of his eyes and laid it on top of the black and white, and I was like, oh god damn, that looks cool. And then I did the bit with the cigarette as well, and then laid that on top, and I was like, right, well, that's that then. So I had my pink spray paint, and I just blasted the top of the canvas. And again, it was an organic thing, but I think it's great because I think it sort of represents the blood, the bloodshed, the drug use, the sort of the more sinister parts of life, but it's also amongst the gold. So I think that's a good point to mention that right now, as it's laid across his face, because, and also the raw power of him singing in this video just gets me so much. So let's continue. Again, so I wanted to add a missing reel into the middle of, a really quick one into the middle of the footage of Mad Season here again, because again, I wanted to kind of represent there's a missing reel for Lane as well, because there they are, the two absolute legends and like idols and heroes of my life, both gone way too soon in my opinion, but then did a lot in their time and did what they needed to do, and clearly did what they needed to do. And earlier on in the video when Mad Season were playing, and I'd use the footage, I did actually say this in the live, but I really enjoyed that it was a serendipitous moment but Mark sings just like a ghost, and that's when them two appear on the projection. So I thought that was quite apt, seeing as they're both not with us anymore, but they are in spirit and always will be through song. So let's continue. That film burn just eats up the canvas, and you just, you know, it just dissipates. It's just so cool. Enjoy that bit because he's saying thank you to the interviewer, and I just thought it just showed it's just a sweet moment of him saying thank you. And yeah, I wanted to add that in. And here we go, the lightning again, but it's just like shocks its way across just streaks its way across the canvas is probably a better way to say it. Look at the canvas, what I'm saying, there it is. Love that. And now the song's just going down. Looks down there, I adored that so much. And again, this was sort of my parting gift. There is no time like the present, I will take you there. And it's kind of like my gift to Mark, to kind of make sure that, you know, well, just have the sentiment that I think he's still alive, and he will be alive as long as his music's being played. And by creating these pieces of artwork, and like I say, having that sort of multimedia sort of triangle of the song and the static art and the projection through that, it's just like it's like a cooking pot, and I'm managing to sort of bring him back to life, like a, you know, just through those 3 pieces of artwork. So yeah, I just wanted that to be sort of an ending sentiment. And then this where he walks away from the microphone, and then you can hear the pedal click off. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed doing that. It's been burning a hole in my soul. I've been wanting to explain why I used certain imagery and the nuances and the synchronicities that occurred throughout, and explaining parts of the canvas and the projection as well, and everything in between. So yeah, I shall do another one to do with the Elliott Smith projection that I did, because again, there's plenty of the same sort of thing with that one. I've got my Jeff Buckley projection coming up on the 18th of April. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you did. Please give us a like and a share if you can. And thank you for watching if you made it this far.